Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today on our recorded webinar on You Can Prevent It. And we're going to talk about preventative maintenance today as we celebrate Maintenance Appreciation Month. As you probably already know, Grace Hill has officially declared September as Maintenance Appreciation Month. And this is a time where we really want to shine the spotlight on all of our maintenance associates and really recognize the hard work and dedication that they give us day in and day out. So we want to personally thank you for celebrating with us and personally thank all of your maintenance associates out there as well for all that they do. I want to tell you a little bit before we get into the presentation. We do have active links throughout the presentation. However, since we decided that quick recordings were the best way to get some good educational messages out to your maintenance associates, we decided that recording would be better than live. So these links during the presentation are not going to be active. However, the same page that you accessed this recording, you probably saw a PDF download. When you download that PDF of the slide deck, all of those links in there and everything we're providing today, how to contact myself, Chad, is all active links in the PDF document. So we wanted to make sure you understood that first. And now before we jump into all of the great information, I just want to tell you that I am thrilled to have Chad Mullen with me today, who is our expert in preventative maintenance and many other areas. And he is the owner of Property Operations Training and Consulting. His company is PropOps, or his website, should I say, is PropOps. Again, these are all active links in the PDF, so you can learn more about his company. But I'm going to let Chad tell you a little bit about himself and his background, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, Jana. Yeah, I started PropOps in 2012. Really, I saw a need for more in-depth type of training for our service teams. Not only technical training, but soft skills training, sometimes some outside the box type training that, we always think about technical training for our service teams, which is really important, but the soft skills play so much into it that, if you don't have a good service team that knows how to promote customer service or resident retention, they could be great technically, but if they're in front of the resident and they say something wrong or, they do something wrong, they need to be aware of there's more than just technical skills involved in customer service. So that was a big thing for me. And, it's been really great going around the country and talking to different service teams and getting a lot of different perspectives and getting them coached up on some really great training.
That's great, Chad. And he will give you a little bit more about his company here in a second. And quickly, I'm Jana Muma. I'm happy to be here today. I'm the Director of Learning and Development with Grace Hill and have about 25 years of industry experience. And the last 4.5 years, I found my new home at Grace Hill, where I can really share my passion for training, learning, and development. Prior to that, I was with a large property management company, started as a leasing consultant. Within 3 years, I realized that training was my true passion, and I have been in the training arena for multifamily housing ever since. And when I left, I oversaw the training department as a vice president of training for a large multifamily housing. So I've been in your shoes, I've walked in your shoes. We experienced a lot of the same things just as Chad has, and that's what makes him more of the expert than I am, because I have not done the maintenance side of it. So moving on, I just have to tell you that during Maintenance Appreciation Month, we celebrate and select, should I say, 20 to 21, depending on the month, rock stars. The first annual Maintenance Appreciation Month that we celebrated, Chad was actually selected as a rock star, and we highlighted him, and that was 3 years ago. So I think it's just awesome when you look at the advancement he has made in his career since he was selected as a rock star. So this gives you a little bit of information, and it is an active link in the PDF if you want to click on it and read more about Chad's background. But when you look at some of the details here, we're going to keep this short and sweet today, you'll realize why he is an expert on preventative maintenance and all of the great things he was recognized for. So again, Chad, congratulations, and we are so happy to have one of our rock stars presenting with us today.
Thank you.
So Chad, you want to give them a little bit of information about your company, and then we'll get into the questions?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, there was such a need for property management maintenance training. I always did training on smaller doses with my own crews, things like that, and I see that, taking the time to put into the training, you get so much more out of it. Once again, I started from the bottom up. So I started as a groundskeeper, moved up and everything, and, you see the list there. There's also some additional classes on my website, but, there are technical skills, soft skills. There are skills for maintenance supervisors, or to teach people how to become a maintenance supervisor. Sometimes they do not have the administrative skills. We'll move a service tech up, a great service tech, we'll move them up, and in a few months they're a bad employee. How does that happen? Well, it's just because the training, they didn't know what was all involved with being a supervisor, things like that. So, like I said, a little bit outside the box type of thinking when it comes to training, but all, necessary.
Perfect, Chad. No, that's great information, and I can tell you that when I did oversee the training department for that company, this was always a struggle for us. And you had the subject matter experts there, but they didn't have time to commit to writing these courses and putting in the hours because they're so busy at their communities. Just like all of you are watching this webinar today, we know that you're busy. So that's why we wanted to keep these short and sweet for you. So we hope that you reach out to Chad if you need some help in those training areas. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what Grace Hill provides as far as maintenance training at the end as well. Okay, but we're going to jump in so you can get back to work at your communities. And our first question here is, what can really be achieved by having a comprehensive preventative maintenance plan? What really is the goal here, and what are they looking to achieve by incorporating a plan like this, Chad?
Well, Jana, actually a lot can be achieved. First off, you want to prevent breakdowns, and you want to extend the life of your existing equipment, which is what really preventative maintenance is all about. After you identify on your property what really needs to be in your preventative maintenance plan, you will put your plan together, and then the biggest thing is the follow-through. You'll notice that you'll be able to identify a lot of things on your property before they become larger problems, fixing smaller problems now instead of larger problems later. Identifying life safety issues is a big thing. If you're doing regular preventative maintenance, if you're doing regular property checks, you can see these things, happening. Sometimes you can even prevent situations from happening. Also, you'll notice that ultimately you'll be able to save time and money as you go through and you plan your preventative maintenance, you follow through with it. It's unfortunate that we are really busy on property, and it always seemed in the past that if something fell by the wayside, it was always preventative maintenance, because I think that the importance of it isn't really put out there. I mean, you say you need to do it, but what actually happens? Well, if you get on your preventive maintenance plan, then you're going to reduce your work order load. It's quite possible that, like I said, you're going to save time and money by implementing the plan. It's going to take a little bit to get it going, but once you get it going, you start off with a base, you kind of start with that, and then I found over the years that when you expand on the plan, add a few more things into it, you can get so much more out of it.
That is great information, and you bring up so many great points in that. And sometimes I think people look at a preventative maintenance plan as an expense, because it is an upfront expense. You're going to have to go out there and whatever it is, check those batteries, replace the AC filters. But that expense savings in the long run really is a tremendous amount of money. So great information, Chad. Thank you so much. So we're going to skip on over here to question number 2. We have a lot of properties or communities, should I say, that probably have a preventative maintenance program in place, but it might be time to revise it or redo it. And then, of course, we have many communities out there who don't have one in place yet and are just reaching out for help and ideas and how do we get this thing started? So how do I start it or restart it to make it really effective?
Well, the first part of that is actually acknowledging that it needs to be done. Taking the time to see the value in it. Another thing is that some companies already have preventative maintenance plans in place. It's just that they're not being followed through on. So you need to, first find out if your company does have a preventative maintenance plan or a preventative maintenance schedule. Forms are a big deal. I always noticed that whenever I was on property, I would work within my company's form, but there always seemed to be a few things that were missing, or my property had something extra or something like that. So, get permission, but don't be afraid to alter your forms because each property is unique. Every property has something about it. Some properties will require more preventive maintenance than others. You have properties out there that don't have, condensing units or forced air systems or things like that, so there won't be as much preventive maintenance. But once you identify your preventive maintenance issues, that's the big thing. It's just really the acknowledging that it needs to be done.
Right. I agree, Chad. That's the best way to get started. So once you make that acknowledgement, it needs to be done, and everybody can agree upon it. And whether you're revising those forms that are out there that already exist with your company or starting from scratch, then that acknowledgement is key. So thank you for that information. I'm going to get back to our slides here. And, okay, so we're going to move on to question number 3. What are the other factors to consider when putting together your preventative maintenance plan? So now we've talked about, why it's important, how it can save you money. We've talked about how to start it or how to get restarted on it. And we all know that they can reach out to you for more information or take Grace Hill's course on this and get great information. But, what other key factors would you talk about when they should consider putting together their plan?
Well, there are several things to consider. Probably one of the largest things is, scheduling. Scheduling is a big thing. You have to make the time for preventive maintenance. We all know that we never seem to have enough time. There are two things on property that you never seem to have enough of. That's time and money. You have to remember if you're just now starting up or restarting, if it's been several months. I've seen cases several years where properties have not gone through a preventive maintenance program. You need to remember if you're starting it up or restarting it up that the first time or two that you go through, it may take a little bit longer, but as you go through it, as you get the routine down, as sometimes maybe you will add to those things, you'll see that you'll end up making a big difference on the bottom line. And talking about the bottom line, another thing to consider is budget. These things need to be budgeted for. Batteries, filters, light bulbs, anything and everything, even the time. What I used to hate was, I used to hate the fact that it always seemed like if something else went wrong, then preventive maintenance went out the window. But if you commit to it, send out your notices. Once the notices go out to the residents, it needs to be done because you're going to answer more calls if nobody shows up. So, the time to commit to it and actually following through with it is a big thing. So time and money, and once you get done, it'll save you both.
Again, more great information, and the thing you said about never having enough time and money, that is so true, and I think every community, every associate would agree with you, and even in our personal lives, that seems to be the same, even carried through our personal lives. There's never enough time and money, but you did make some great points, and the few that stuck out to me were making sure that you get the scheduling approved and done for, and don't forget about the budgeting aspect of it, because you do have to budget not only the expenses of it, but also the associate's time. which we know is very important. And, you know, Chad, we recently did a survey to over 400 maintenance associates. It asked them what their biggest challenge was for attending training. Why can't they attend training? And 70–80% of them lack of time. They're just too busy. So I can see that this could happen with a preventative maintenance plan. They're just too busy, and that always takes the back burner, like you said, where some big fire happens and we're putting out fires. Preventative maintenance takes the back burner. So what can you recommend from a scheduling perspective? You know, how often do you determine that it needs to be done? You know, if you look at the checklist here, I think we all agree it's very often, but how often do you think that it needs to be done, and what advice can you give in helping with that scheduling so that it doesn't end up taking the back burner?
Well, there are several things. First off, to schedule preventative maintenance, you need to know what you need to do your PM on. It really depends on your property. As I said before, each property is unique. Each property is different. You think about it this way. If you have return air vents that are close to the ground, you'll probably end up wanting to change out those filters and check those coils once a quarter, once every 3 months. But if your return air vents are at the top, by the ceiling or in the ceiling, you can usually get away with replacing those filters only twice a year because you don't get quite as much dust and debris, and it's not as big of an issue. So you really need to know your property. You need to know what's going on. There's a lot of other things too that factor in as far as warranties and things like that. You know, how often should preventive maintenance be done? Some of your warranty books, and you know, they will determine how often you need to do preventive maintenance on certain things. Pumps, appliances, things like that. That it's just, you know, there's so many things to determine, but the biggest thing is to put it on a master schedule. And you know what? There's different times that we do preventive maintenance for different things. You know, preventive maintenance is sometimes a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual type of thing. So right. I think it's to determine, you know, for each thing that you have, determine how long that it needs to be done. Then putting it on the master schedule and sticking to the master schedule is the biggest thing because, like I said, all of our properties are so different. You know, we have so many things that are going on them. But figuring it out and actually putting it down and sticking to it is the big deal.
Perfect. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think breaking that out into those, you know, monthly, quarterly, annually routines or items that need to be taken care of is a great suggestion and a great idea. And that makes it not so overbearing where you're looking at one huge list that has to be done. So that is a great idea. And I think, you know, we've really covered question number 5. Basically, we kind of went into both of them with 4 and 5 here, and I think that's wonderful information. So I'm just going to ask you, Chad, since we've kind of talked about this, is there anything else that you haven't covered today that you would recommend in your expert advice on preventative maintenance related to anything outside of scheduling or scheduling as well? So what else do you want to speak to?
Well, from the scheduling part of it also, you know, an important thing is to know your property and to not stress your property or your staff. And really, Jana, what I mean by that is, you know, if you're really busy the first month of the week, last month of the week, don't schedule preventive maintenance during those weeks. I always used to hate the fact on property where we would put everything on hold for 2 or 3 days to change filters and go in and do our checklist and things like that, to where we'd have to like end up trying to get caught back up. Over the years, I found that if you can make preventive maintenance part of your regular routine, just as regular as grounds or, you know, going in and checking tickets, anything like that, if you can schedule it and make it part of your routine, and you do it just like we're doing this webinar, more in a bite-sized type of setting, then it's a lot easier to do. Sometimes you may be able to schedule your preventive maintenance, say, with vendors. Like if you have exterminators that go in every quarter to each apartment, you know, you can factor that in. You know, you may do just a few buildings a week, but if you can get it on the rotation where you're hitting everything every 3 months or as required, as you deem it needs to be done, that's a big thing. And, it's just take a little bit of time with your preventative maintenance because it can help you out in so many other areas as far as, saving time, money, being able to forecast, budget for the next year. We even added on our preventative maintenance schedule where we went in and we rated carpets and vinyls. So I knew at the next budget season how many carpets, possibly we might need to be replacing. How many vinyls possibly will we need to be replacing. We ended up being able to take the time to look under sinks for leaks. We checked out as many things as we could to try to catch things early. And that's really the big deal is, if you can make it part of your routine, you can do it in bite-sized chunks, it makes it so much easier for the property and the staff.
Absolutely. And that's really what the name says. You're trying to prevent problems from happening in the future. If we just want to simplify it, and that becomes a huge cost savings. If you can find those issues early on in the game and prevent them from turning into big issues, sure, it's time and money and everything up front, but boy, it can save you a tremendous amount of money in the long run, as well as what Chad was just saying, I think is, we often don't look at this from a preventative maintenance standpoint, but it just has your maintenance teams gain knowledge, basically, on everything that's going on in that apartment, from the carpet, the vinyl, to, what is the status of everything in that apartment. So great information, Chad, and I'm sure that they can reach out to you for information on your courses that you provide on this. And I just want to quickly tell them what Grace Hill provides. We do have a preventative maintenance course that's available online, but we are, if you're not familiar with Grace Hill, we are the online leader of online education for the multifamily housing industry. And we offer numerous courses, and yes, a lot of them are related to maintenance. We also have, of course, your leasing, marketing type of courses, customer service, which also is related to maintenance. We have videos, quizzes, podcasts, learning games, and so much more. So we encourage you to visit our site. In the PDF, this top box is an active link where you can learn more, and you can go to www.gracehill.com to get more information. And then if you're looking for a way to help manage and track your training efforts, you can certainly click on the bottom link in the PDF, and this will give you information about our online learning management system called Vision. And that will help you with managing all of your training initiatives, efforts, from registration to evaluation. And you could even send out your preventative maintenance plans through the system and make sure that people actually sign off that they've read them. So what a great tool. And with that being said, I want to personally thank Chad for joining me here today as our expert. And, I think between Chad's in-person training that he can provide on preventative maintenance and Grace Hill's online training on it, we can certainly help you take this topic a little bit further. But Chad, thank you so much. And on behalf of Grace Hill, we want to thank everybody for being with us today.
Thank you, Jana, and I appreciate it. Had a great time here at Grace Hill, and to all the service team members out there, what are you doing? Go fix something.
That's right. And to all the service teams out there, congratulations, and go celebrate. It's Maintenance Appreciation Month. So thank you.
Thank you.